Hey everyone, welcome to Startups on Demand, sponsored by New York Tech Media. Today I've got the awesome David Smooke in the house, the founder of Hackernoon, one of the leading tech publications out there. David, thanks for being on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate taking the time to meet with me, and I'm excited to talk about some technology here today.
Awesome. So I will start out by saying, that I'm a bit biased, okay? Hackernoon is actually my favorite tech publication. As you guys know, I do PR and I also write for a lot of publications, and I also contribute to Hackernoon. And it's just the quality of work on Hackernoon is completely amazing. And I think that's a lot thanks to you, David, and the wonderful work you and your team are doing.
Oh, thanks a lot. That's really music to my ears, and I'll make sure to share it with the editors. It's been a good experience learning how to grow this site, and I've been spending a lot of my time and money on editing and software development. So building the features we want to build to make a better publishing platform, and really just ensuring there's always a second human on the other side of the screen. People so often can do 80 and 90% of the work and really struggle with the last 10 and 20 to make a good story published, live, distributed. So it's thanks for contributing to Hackernoon.
Awesome. So before I kind of dive into specific questions, I just wanna tell our audience so they get a hint. Hackernoon today is probably not probably, statistically talking, it's the second biggest tech publication out there after TechCrunch. If you look a bit on the numbers, you guys passed VentureBeat actually, I think last month or the month before that, in terms of readership and in terms of quality audience and so on. First of all, do you want to comment on that? Do you have some sort of kind of comment on this unbelievable ride you guys have been on?
I mean, being mentioned next to names like that is just awesome. I still remember pitching VentureBeat, trying to get them to write about something random I was doing 6-7 years ago, and same with TechCrunch and those sites. So I grew up as those sites were just starting to grow. I'm 33 now, so like when I was 23, they were just kind of coming out and emerging as I was getting into tech. So there's definitely just a nostalgia to just be in the same sentence as the Verges and the Recodes and the TechCrunches and the CNETs. It's just it's cool to just see Hackernoon next to it. I'm fine with that. That's funny for me.
That's amazing. So okay, so let's do a deep dive here. So where the initial idea came from. Obviously Hackernoon started as a Medium publication, and then kind of you guys kind of build up your own platform. Where's the idea coming from, and what was the initial purpose of Hackernoon?
The purpose was to work for myself and have something that made money while I slept. I mean, it's like you got to be honest about your own motivations of like, I just hit a spot. I was working for a startup that I saw it go from 5 to 100 people, and just really a high growth phase of a business. And my ownership in that company was small, but significant to my life, as it paid for the down payment of my house and selling it as they've continued to grow at Smart Recruiters. So in learning just how it works, it's just a little more fun when you're at the top and people are building your ideas, and you live or die with how you spend your money. If some projects work, some don't, you just choose to put labor there. So I think from the beginning it was something I wanted to do with my career. And with Hackernoon, it wasn't the first idea the company had. We had a marketplace to bid on blog posts. We had the first 10 grand I spent on basically learning product management was this app to place photos on the back of a screen, and all these things that just kind of like what I knew the most about was, publishing online. That's what I did for Smart Recruiters. I managed a contributor community of about 400 different recruiting thought leaders, learning how to hire. So, doing that for a broader group, like the tech industry as a whole, was pretty appealing. And it was that thing where the feedback of my skills actually worked to make the thing grow, and not I pour my skills into this and it doesn't have users. So it was a lot of hit or miss to get to Hackernoon and to have our own platform and just to have an, it's hard to build software because, it needs revenue or funding first. So you have this catch-22 of like, how can you grow a team if the thing doesn't exist yet? So you need to just find ways to get revenue. And then the more revenue you make, you can create a first job, which is yours, or a second job, which is very hard to do. So I guess I don't really know how I got here.
That is a great story. And okay, so we talked a little bit about VentureBeat and TechCrunch before, and if we had to kind of compare Hackernoon to other tech publications, I know you like just being mentioned about them, but I think like to compare. I think Hackernoon has a lot of different unique selling propositions that those other publications are kind of they have their own USPs, but I think Hackernoons are really strong. What do you think makes Hackernoon different than other tech publications?
Well, anyone can write on it, for starters. If it's a good piece of content, there's start writing or write is a button atop every page on the site. So having everyone is an expert on something, and the further you're reading Hackernoon and you're learning about these technical things, or you're caring about this type of news, you're someone who has a story to tell. You care about this in some way. You invest in it. You build stuff. So helping the broader tech community make a better story versus saying only journalists can write. So that's kind of like one area of but we do have editorial review in each story, as opposed to some other, open, completely blogging platforms where anything can be published, good, bad, whatever. And then they have some moderation policy of some kind. I think a second human reviewing all content increases the quality dramatically. And the average level of quality with 30 minutes of a professional editor is something where I pay the cost of that 30 minutes of the editor, which sometimes is me, but now that we've grown, usually is not. In the beginning, it was just me. That 30 minutes makes the story better. And then whenever it publishes, we have an ad on the page, and that ad has to exceed the value of the cost of editing and the distribution systems we have to build. So that's kind of the trade that I'm making with Hackernoon. And I think building a large library over time and making it completely free is something good for the internet. So I want to make something that's good, but also something that's sustainable and profitable, and I can employ more people, so that's what I'm going for, and trying to be somewhere in that range of just having a really good expertise as these technology things. If you find something on the internet, it's awesome to document it. And then the next person doesn't have the same problem, or when they hit that problem, they're like, oh, it's so nice. That person had an answer for me. That's whenever I actually get, a little more optimistic about what the internet could be.
That is awesome. And to be honest with you, I don't see Hackernoon, such as an open platform. It is, I do see it as, something that is decentralized and does contribute to, let's say, Web 3.0. But compared to other open platforms, the quality that Hackernoon has, the quality of articles is unbelievable. And if I may kind of compare it to other publications, today when I'm a tech reader, right? I'm a tech reader. I'm also a tech journalist. So whenever I read, places like TechCrunch or VentureBeat, although VentureBeat are closer to Hackernoon in that sense, I get a feeling like it's mostly focused on founding announcements, or about Elon Musk, or about, another kind of gadget review of Apple or something. And with Hackernoon, I feel like it's real tech. It's like real technology. It's like the articles are much more deep. They're much more, fun to read, and they're not based on a news cycle. They're based on actual knowledge. So I think it's much credit to you guys for doing that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I think it's from the ground up. That's how we built. I've always favored the builder over the funder. That's just it's fundamentally something that's a bit wrong, with how the news works. Why are you getting the reward before you've built the thing?
Yeah.
Because there is a promise to build the thing in the future, that's when the news hits, and that is asinine. It should be when the thing works and it's doing the thing you said it would, not whenever this firm said you're worth a lot of money and I promise they will build it in the future. It's just the news should be on what happened and not with the speculation on what is going to happen. So, and I think it's also in our DNA. Like, I mean, this was bootstrapped for 2.5 years. I was working just off the revenue of the sponsor, and that was my entire pay. And that varied greatly, depending on how well I sold at the same time growing the site. And then, having crowdfunding and doing equity crowdfunding to grow the platform that way, it welcomed a lot of small shareholders and a lot of readers. So I think we have done a pretty good job of trying to align these incentives so that like the people that have stake in it grow the thing and they care about it. So, I mean, we do publish funding news sometimes. I prefer, we'll have like interview templates now where you can, like, if you're a women in tech, you can get an interview, and we have one for funding too. It's kind of sitting in the back, sometimes people use it. I'm much more interested in like product launches and milestones and how to make things than how to fund things, but funding is part of it. It is. Where the money moves, activity will follow. The money is a character in the story of the tech industry. You can't ignore it. So it's like, as you make more revenue, it's part of the story. As you get funding, it's part of the story. It's just not the lead. So I think that's something that I think I'll be right in over time, but it'll always be news. And, we have tech company news pages now, and they'll track funding around the web. And so when you're looking, and a startup gets funding, that'll show up on their company news page. So, we're trying to also acknowledge it, and do a little more like API based of monitoring news about companies and putting that next to our stories where the stories are more in depth. But hopefully we just keep attracting more builders. That's the most interesting stuff to read. Today someone's trying to do 12 startups in a year, and then he decided to just buy one instead of building from scratch for this month. And it was, there is stuff like that happening. But I still like to read the stories every day, and I'll log in. I'm only editing like 5 or 10 stories a week now, but it's always going to be a part of my job. It's just like, it's cool. I like reading them first. I like when they come in. I like to see what people are thinking about. So keep top of mind, learn what people are building.
That is amazing. So you talked a little bit beforehand on kind of like, your revenue model. You mentioned ads. I got to be honest with you. I spend almost every day on Hackernoon, and I've never seen any ad. I only saw the small like yellow, bar in the homepage.
That small yellow bar has been it's been between 33 and 55% of revenue for the last 2.5 years. Yeah. Someone buys the whole site, they get the top 10 pixels on the site. We did a bunch of A/B testing with the goal of being the minimal size, but the maximum clicks. And settling on this yellow sticky bar at the top was the winner. So, we're trying to take as little space away from the reader and writer as possible, but, that space is super valuable. If you create something valuable, the top 10 or 15 pixels are like some of the biggest product decision you have on your site. So, if you want to run a pop-up ad there, you can, but we don't, we just keep it yellow, simple banner. And then, we've done a lot of email newsletters, and we'll do brand publishing. So like absorbing like the blog of Heroku and saying, hey, Heroku posts when they publish, they also publish here. And then our most growing section of revenue right now is writing contest. And so essentially, if you enter onto a tag on Hackernoon, so if you publish with the blockchain tag, you enter to win a contest, and then the most read stories form a shortlist, and the Hackernoon editors vote on that shortlist, and then the sponsors pay out the writers for different variants of payments that they've been between $100 and $5,000, on the high end. So still a new area for us, but it's pretty cool because the sponsor is associated with the term, and then people can write about whatever they want. And as long as you're associated with the term, it's still a win for the sponsor. And then they're, directly rewarding people that are producing the highest quality writing that matters to the term they care about. So, it's also forming a bit of a relationship of some kind of, you'll have some emotion if someone paid you and you want a contest from them.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm, this past week, past couple, really months, a couple months, I've been focusing a lot more on that. They've been pretty fun to just reward more writers and bring just more activity into Hackernoon and a little more competitiveness. I like a little gaming. I like a little competition. It's a little bit as healthy. So it's been fun. I can't enter as a staff member. I ruled out, but I don't know. I'll still enter some for fun.
So how does the brand as author work? So essentially it looks native, right? Because I've never kind of seen a labeled brand as author when I was reading Hackernoon. How
Well,
does,
you know where your author bio is and your author call to
yeah.
action and your author social links, that'll all be the brand. So quite literally, like the accreditation of who it's by is the brand and not
Mhm.
an individual the brand paid.
Got it.
So that's how we're trying to say that's honest accreditation, but that accreditation is an outright ad because it's saying who you are, what you do, where your social links, and one call to action to link to anything on the web, like book a meeting, book a demo, look at my jobs, anything like that. So yeah, and it's if we're publishing 40-45 stories a day, and 3 to 5 of them are brands, so the vast majority of content on the site every day is people on tech, sharing what they build, how they build it, why they build it.
And I gotta add on that and say to my audience that that even the brand as author kind of articles, they're also really high quality because you guys
Yeah.
are also kind of there's an editorial process on that as well. So it's not like a brand can like publish whatever they want. They still get,
Yeah, we still reject a number of brand posts. The credit applies when it publishes. So if you
yeah,
buy it and we reject it and you're like, no, you have to publish it, you don't pay.
yeah.
We've just rejected because it's low quality. We have to keep the quality control up to put our readers first and just get out. The internet's too much noise in a lot of places. And if it means we publish less total stories, but our average quality is higher, that's a fair trade. That's something you should consider and walk through. And these brand posts, like, these companies are worth hundreds of millions and billions of dollars, depending on which one. They have plenty of smart people that can write a long, great quality, long form technical post. And if you put in 30-40 hours into that, and maybe 3 people did, it's going to be a really good piece of content. Just because a brand commissioned it doesn't mean the quality is low. So, it naturally attracts us to, hey, if you're a great tech company that also makes great content, now you're a good partner of Hackernoon. If you make bad content and you're willing to pay me to put it on my site, you're not a good partner. So there's I want to grow in a sustainable way. And I mean, if it's something like when Google developer blog drops and they share a new way the SEO algorithm works, that thing is so well read. It's going everywhere. So these brand posts are news, and there are portions of them that they belong on our site whether we're being paid or not. So that's the ideal customer that we're going for. And, sometimes customer pays us, we reject their story and the relationship ends. Other times, they bring us better stuff and we keep going. And other times they just already are doing it and they just need more distribution. They need a little more editing help sometimes. Sometimes they really just need distribution and they're coming here. So there's, I'm happy to publish quality technical content. It's very nice when we also get paid for it. And we just want to be really honest about who's paying.
That is awesome. Your last LinkedIn post, or at least the one I saw this week, you said that API-driven publications outperform algorithm-driven publications. I liked it, literally, like I liked the post, and I was trying to kind of like I think I want to know if I received it the same way you kind of intended to do it. What did you mean exactly by that reference?
So I use the greater than as opposed to outperform, the greater than symbol. So I guess that's
the greater than. Yeah.
So the last 2 weeks, I've been building a tech company news page ranking. So basically, it's looking at how readers are engaged with different companies on Hackernoon and ranking them over time. So I've just been playing a little more with APIs and working with software developers there, Marcos, and so I've just been thinking why I posted that is algorithm is really, you think of it in the newsfeed, and outsourcing the choosing of your next story to a machine is something that the average person on the internet has currently accepted, in my opinion. That, hey, I trust that I log into Facebook, I log into LinkedIn, I logged into wherever, and I trust the thing at the top is good. And they learn about me and they, learn my preferences and put a better thing next that I'm more likely to engage with. And I still open my news feeds, but more and more I've been thinking that you should choose what information you want to be updated on, and the API should update the information. So in building this tech company ranking, it's very much calling other places around the web and looking how it performs over time. And so I'm getting the data and then I'm starting to form a story, as opposed to read the story because the machine chose it and now change your viewpoint, or your viewpoint has some way absorbed that and change very slightly. So that's that's kind of where my head's at there. And like we don't have a traditional news feed. You pick tags and we'll recommend stories that way, and we'll try and say, hey, this is most read by the Hackernoon community on the blockchain tag. You like blockchain, maybe check it out. So we keep it kind of simple, and we're playing the game there a little bit, but I just want to get personally just want to get away from being fed news, and just a little less time in the news feed I think would be healthier for everyone.
I've had two main questions that people have been asking me about Hackernoon, and I think this is a great chance to kind of ask you and provide answers for them. One of the questions is, people have been starting to see the verified symbol on Hackernoon, similar to Twitter. Like when a contributor is a verified contributor, it's like a green check mark. How do people get that? What do you need to do to get that in terms of like as a contributor writer?
We'll definitely be rolling it out to more people. We started with just the staff and a couple writers to say, what happens if you have the publish button, and you skip the editorial review process, which is like the pillar of this operation. So it has this kind of cannibalistic, eat your own tail type of tendency that like maybe isn't the best, but we've been experimenting with like other things we could give the verified writers, like, for example, we get sent a lot of tickets and we say, cover our event. Like, we don't have people on the ground everywhere, but we have access to a bunch of free tickets to all these tech events. Like maybe we could start, giving them away. I don't want to like make it a check just for the sake of a check's sake, so we're still trying to figure out like how to make it a better, more robust program where we could have a better, deeper partnership with writers. I mean, for now, it's kind of like we just put it on a couple accounts to have it and play with it and have a user type where we can put different functionality in. And I hope to have some more exciting news when I talk to you, next time about like what you could do to be a verified contributor and what you can get as a verified contributor with Hackernoon.
Awesome. And the second question is interviews. So obviously, for the people who don't know, if you're a contributor writer at Hackernoon and you've written a great high quality technical piece and you've kind of landed, a homepage kind of article, you get to like basically interview yourself and get featured in Hackernoon as an interview. And a lot of people have been asking me, what about, like mainstream interviews? Let's say, I want to interview a CEO of this startup with that startup. People have been getting like mixed results. A lot of that has been rejected. Some have been accepted. Is there any specific guidelines that people should kind of think about when doing interviews?
Yeah, I mean, we've been thinking about this question a lot. It's kind of organically happened with a lot of people, and some people will have a template and, use kind of the same group of 10, 20 questions, which like it's not as good individually, but it's a solid approach. And, you even see shows like Inside the Actor's Studio ending with the same 20 questions for every actor. Why? Because it's a decent set of questions. So if you have a decent set of questions that if you ask this to the right person or the right type of person, you can get a very robust read. That's what it comes down to. Like, is this an interesting read? Is the interviewer giving something back to what the internet should learn, and not just saying, buy here? If they're just saying buy here and they're not providing context, we're going to reject the story. So, the quality is always going to be the underlying thing. With editors, we have that meet the writer interview when you get featured as a top story. But I mean, I hope you'll use that feature. We've been putting it on editors, and I guess I would ask you, as well, you're doing a lot of these interviews. What do you think makes a better quality interview whenever you're going after these technology leaders?
I think it's the more in-depth and technical and product-oriented or service-oriented answers. So what I personally am not a big fan of is all, those like founding announcements when people just are talking about things that are not happening yet and just talking about how they appreciate, that this VC or that VC has given trust in them. I'd rather interview people who actually talk about how they're, about their product roadmaps, about the product features, about, how high quality, how was the process like in kind of building the product. And so I think the more technical and more in-depth you can go, the better, for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Awesome, David. So thank you for being on the show, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate taking the time talking about Hackernoon. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Bye-bye.
See ya.